Hello everyone, I'm Pervin and welcome to App DNA where we talk about all things apps. Today we'll be talking about an app called the Business Finance Tracker app. We also have an app called the Personal Finance Tracker app. Now you'd ask what's the difference between the Personal Finance Tracker and the Business Finance Tracker. The difference lies in that we have much more sections in Business Finance Tracker. We have vendors and customers and organizations to deal with. Whereas in the Personal Finance Tracker, we are dealing with only our own expense and incomes. So let's get started building it on our low-code platform Zoho Creator. We'll do this entire app through 5 basic steps. In the first step, we are going to add our account details, whether it's a current account, a savings account. In the second step, we are going to add forms for our contacts, for our expenses, and for our incomes. In the third step, we are going to add a sales form. In the fourth step, we are going to have a workflow that will mix and match all of the forms that we have built and keep updating our account balances. And in the fifth step, we are going to build a dashboard through which at a quick glance we will know the health of our finances. Let's get started with the Creator platform. In the first step, we are going to build our account form. To begin with creating our Business Finance Tracker app, let's first log into creator.zoho.com where I'm already signed in. If you're a first time user, then you have to sign in with Zoho and then access this app. Here on the right hand side, I have an option to create a new application, but if I'm already maintaining all my financial records for my company through Excel sheets or any other spreadsheet, then I can simply import those files and an app will be created for me. This here is my applications that I've been creating. For now, I'll get started with new app, create from scratch. This is what we'll be doing. But this is our app gallery where we have more than 70 pre-made applications for you that you can simply install right from here. One of these is our Business Finance Tracker app, which I will show you after this tutorial. So have a bit of patience till then. Right now, we'll create our app from scratch. I'll name it as Business Finance Tracker app DNA, our YouTube channel. Now this is where we can create a new form. Is the edit application of Creator where we can design forms. We have our workflows where we can have a bit of coding to make the forms run, and then there's settings. Let's get started with create a new form, and as the app progresses, you'll learn a lot of other features in this low-code platform. I'd like to create this form from blank. I'll name this as add account. So in this form, we are going to add all the bank accounts or wallets that we have. First, I will use this single line field from this and just drag and drop. So these are the fields over here. You drag and drop them here as you want the form to be made. I'll name this as account name. Next up, I will use the number field here for my account ID. Then I can have a drop down field for the type of account that this one is. I'll have one of these as payables, receivables, and the third could be both payables and receivables. So if you are in the business financing world, you'll know that payables is the account from which you can pay for your bills, and receivables is where you have the invoices for the inventory that you have sold. And payables and receivables are the accounts from which you can both pay and receive. We can allow other choices right here, and then I'll have a currency field for my account balance, the current account balance. This you can set to any currency that you are using. I will use INR because I'm using Indian rupees. And then you can also have another drop down for the status of this account, whether it is running or it is inactive. So there's another drop down here. If you want to just make one of these accounts inactive, but you don't want to delete them from your accounts, then you can simply put them as inactive. To begin with, I'll have the choices active. And then I can also allow other choices. So our account form is done. I'll hit done, and then I can access this application with this blue button here, or if you want to share it with your customers or your users, you can click this. Let's access this application in the live mode, and I'll show you the difference between the live mode and the edit mode of Creator. So this is the live mode. This is your app running. We just created the account form. You can fill your details here and you can check them in your all accounts record here. Let's see what happens when we choose Let's say my first account name is HDFC Bank deposit account. This is one of our Indian banks. This is my account ID. Now remember, if you want your account ID to have a particular set of digits alone, like it should have only 9 digits, then you can go back to the form and customize it accordingly. This type of account is payables. To start with, I have zero balance. The account status is active and I hit add. Now I can go to all accounts and you see that after the form has been submitted, the record displays my HDFC Bank deposit account here. Now this is the web app. If you want to access this app from your mobile, then you can simply download it from our Android app gallery or your iPhone app gallery. So this is Zoho Creator on mobile. You get it from the App Store or Play Store. And this is how the form layouts will look in your phone. So just now we added add accounts and all accounts, and it was showing here. And then you have the records in this way. You can customize the swipes and the buttons according to your mobile. It's truly native. If you want to have a tab view, this is the tab view, and this is how it would look on the tab. You can get all of this from App Store or Play Store. When you're building a web app on a local platform like Zoho Creator, you need not create it again from the scratch from mobile using Swift and other languages that Xcode for Apple, let's say. You need not do that. Now we are done with our first form and we'll move to our second step, which is where we create our two forms for adding the incomes and expenses of our account. Now that we are done with our first form, in the second step we are going to create three forms. The first one will be to add our contacts. In the second step we are going to add our expenses, and in the third we are going to add our income. So let's build these three forms. In the second step we are going to create a new form. For this we will go to edit this application here, create a new form just the way we made the account form. This one I will name as add income. So whatever income your business is having, it will be recorded here. So I'll be using a new kind of field called the lookup. Lookup is very special because it is used to relate two forms with each other. Let's say I want to know which account this income is coming into. For this I would have to type out all my accounts again, and then it would be difficult to relate to it. So I'll simply use lookup. So lookup will go to my account form, and from there I can look up the account name. So I know which account I'm going to enter this income into. If you have been using spreadsheets, you'll know that there are certain things that you have to do to relate forms like this, like VLOOKUPs and macros. This is much easier than that. Let's see. Our lookup has been added here. I'll name it as select account. I'll just rename it as. And then I can also set a filter here. So you can have a filter like you only want those accounts to appear here whose status is active and things like that. There's a lot of customization available at your hand. So once we're done with our account, next I'll want to know the income amount. For this I'll use the currency field again. I have renamed it as income amount, and then I would want to know the income source. For this I can use a multi-line field here, and then I would want to know the date of this income. You can have other notes as well. For notes you can simply use this add notes here, and I'm done with my income form. Now I'll access this app in a new tab to see my income form. This is my income form here. Now you can select the account as HDFC Bank deposit account, enter the income as 100, income sources, salary, date is 24th, you have not put any notes here, add, and then in income you can see that there's an income of 100 from your salary. Now when I go to all accounts, I can see that the bank deposit account in HDFC is still showing 0, which is sad, because just now I put my income as 100, it should have reflected 0. For this we will add a quick workflow, so you'll understand the importance of workflow in Creator. We can hit add a workflow while using the form add income. Name the workflow as add balance. Add a new action. This one would run on successful form submission, not while loading or validating the form or any user input. Once the form has been successfully submitted, I want this workflow to run. I'll be using something called fetch records, with which I'll be fetching the records lying in another form, and then I'll manipulate it. This I'll do with a variable. Let's say my variable is something simple like fetch account. So with fetch account, I will go to my add account form. I'll look up for all the records through the ID. So if their IDs match my input dot select account, so if the records in the account forms match the account that I have selected for my income, then it would be fetched in this fetch account variable. Once I know that, I can simply go to fetch account, then put dot the account balance, and then I'll add it with the same fetch account dot account balance plus whatever I have inputted into my income amount. Now this is very simple. It's just plain addition in computer language. Now I'll push done. Go to my live app, refresh it. This time I'll try to put another income here. This time I'll put just 20. Income source is heritage and hit add. This time when I go to all income, you see that the 20 and the 100 from before is still there. But when I go to all accounts, the account balance now does not reflect 0, it reflects 20. So it has been added to it with a simple workflow. We'll use the same when we are creating the expense form, only that we will be subtracting it. Let's go and create our expense form now. Before I create an expense form, I'll create another form quickly, which would be to add my contacts, my vendors and my customers. This one I will name as add contact. So in add contact, first up I want to use a radio field. This one will be for type of contact. So I want to know whether it's my customer, my vendor, or employee. You can even allow other choice. Once I know my type of contact, I can push the name here, their email, their phone number, even the kind of currency that they operate in, or the base currencies. You can have a lot of stuff here, but I will keep it to just this. So I have my type of contact filled here. Then I will refresh my app and I'll create my first contact. Let's say my first contact is a vendor. That's me. Hit add in my contact. I've been added as a vendor. Now I will create a new form for my expense. I'll name this as add expense form. This would be very similar to the income form, but I'll be adding my vendors here. We'll see how. First we will use our lookup to select our account. Here I can put a filter, select the type of account to be only payables, because payables are used for your expenses. Hit done. We could have done the same for our receivables in our income form, right? So once select account, I want to then look up my vendor. So I can go to my add contact, name, hit done. Here I can use a filter that I want my type of contact to be only vendor, because I'll be only recording the expenses that I have incurred from my vendors. I'll rename this as vendor, and then I can have my currency fields, the usual. We have our expense amount, the date when this expense was incurred, and then you can have some notes also here. Expense records to record why this expense was incurred. Hit done, and now I will refresh my app for my expense form. Right here is my expense form. I'll try to add a new expense. This is select account HDFC bank deposit account. Select the vendor Parveen Chaudhary. Expense amount is 45. This is some date. So vendor has popped in here, and expense record some sale. Hit add. It reflects in the expenses, but it does not reflect in our account balance, which is still hung at 20, right? So for this we will do that quick workflow that we did for our income, only this time we will be subtracting it from our total balance. So we'll go back to our edit application mode, create a new workflow for our expense form. While using the form, add expense, subtract balance. On successful form submission, here again I will use a variable called fetch account 2, which will go to my add account form for all the IDs that match my select account. Then I'll use this to get the account balance, and then from that account balance I'll subtract the expense amount, and this one will become the new balance. Let's save, done, refresh. Now I'll go to add expense. I have a payable account deposit, HDFC deposit, vendor Pervin. This time I'll put an expense of $10. And when I go to account balance, this time it should reflect the -10. So my bank deposit account is only 10 because it has subtracted the others. So if you go and check the all incomes, the last time that we had added, it was 20, so it had become 20. And then this time when I subtracted 10, it became 10. So the account balance now reflects very well our expenses and incomes. You can delete the redundant ones so that it does not confuse you later. And now we will move on to our third step, where we will be creating other stuff that business finance tracker apps need. So we will have products, we will have a sales form and a purchase form. Let's do it. In the third step, we are going to build a form to add sales. In the third step, we are going to create two forms, one for purchases and one for our sales. First up, we'll start with our purchase details. For this, we will create a form called add bill. So whenever we make a purchase, we fill up this bill form. In the data fields, I will first use something called the auto number, which will generate a bill for me right from starting from 1, or if you have your bills starting with 1000, as your wish, as your company's demands, you can start it there, and then these numbers will be auto generated, so you'll have a unique number for each bill. I will name as bill number. Next up, I'll use the date for this bill. Then I'll use the lookup for my vendor. Which vendor am I purchasing from? So for this, I'll go to add contact and name. Here I can put a filter that the type of contact should equal only vendor. And I'll name this as vendor field. Next up, I will use a subform. So a subform is a form within form, and I'll use this subform to list out my item details. What are the items and how much is the unit price and quantity. Use a blank form. I'll name this subform as item details. Here we will add fields. The first field that we want to add is a serial number. So for this, I will use a number field and name it as serial number. Next, I will add a single line field for my product. So this will list the product name that I've purchased. Next, I want another number field for my quantity. So this will give me the quantity of units that I want. And then the next, I'll use a currency field for my unit price. And then another currency which will give me the subtotal. In a workflow later, I will do a calculation so that my subtotal is calculated by itself when I put the unit and the product. This is the subtotal. So we are done with our subform. Next, I'll need another currency field below this subform, which will give me the total of this subform. Next up, we can have our tax percent. We can even have a shipping charge. For this, I'll need the currency again. And then finally, we can have our net total, which will be calculated taking this tax percent and shipping in account. These sections I don't need, so I will just remove these sections. Finally, here somewhere here I can also put a lookup for my account. So which account would this purchase go from? So I can go to my add account from and my account name. So this bill would be deducted from this account. And finally, I can have a drop down for the payment status. Whether this bill has been paid for or unpaid. Let's skip the choice as paid for by default unless it is marked unpaid. I don't want these headers. Okay, so the bill is generated. Now I'll go to my app and refresh it to check for my bill form. So these are my bills. This is my add bill form. I want this header to not to be bills, but I want this to be as purchase details. For this, you can simply go to customization right here, which says sections. So it will take you to the sections where you can rename your section. So here's my incomes. Let's say I just want to rename it as income instead of incomes, and then I have my bills. So I want to change my bills to purchase details. I'll go and refresh my app, and here is my purchase details. Let's start with our subform. Let's say my product is a pen, quantity is 1, unit price is 10. When I click, the subtotal is not calculated automatically. In the next step, we will create a workflow which will calculate these calculations automatically. For this, we'll go to workflow, create a new workflow while using the form add bill, calculate total, add a new action. This should be on a dilute script on user input of our item details, so in quantity. So every time the field quantity is being updated in the subform of add bill, this workflow would run. So the purpose of this workflow is autofill the total, just to remind us what we are trying to do here. And now we will start with the if statement. So if row dot product is not equal to, so if there is something in the product, so it's not empty, and row dot quantity is not equal to null, and row dot quantity is also not equal to 0, then this loop would run. What would we have in the loop is row dot subtotal equals row dot unit price into row dot quantity. So this would give me the subtotal. What we have done here is simple mathematics. We took the subtotal by each row, and whatever is the unit price, we have multiplied it with the quantity for that product price. And now let's assume that the total amount is 0 for now. Next, for each row in item details form, if row dot subtotal is not equal to null, what I did here, if the subtotal of a particular row is not null, then it will simply get added to the total amount as row dot subtotal. So for each row, we keep calculating the subtotal, and if it is non-zero, we keep adding it to the total amount. And here we have assumed that the total amount is 0. So now we will just put input dot total equal to the total amount that we have found here, because it started off as 0, but with every row, when we have entered the unit price and quantity, it gets updated here in this loop, and then it gets submitted in the total amount. row dot subtotal is null. I empty the subtotal and put an alert. Quantity of product should be at least 1, so we need more than 1 products to calculate the subtotal. Now this is to calculate the total amount. What about the tax and the shipping charges that we have? So now input dot net total would be equals to input dot total into input dot the tax percent divided by 100 plus input dot total plus input dot the shipping charge. Hit save. There is a problem here at line number 7 for each row. So row is a system keyword and cannot be used, so we needed a variable here, so I'll simply change these as a variable from the system keyword by just adding a dash everywhere. So when you are naming it, you can just put any other variable that you want. I'll just change each of these. This time I'll hit save and it got saved. Yes, so I push done, refresh my app, and this time when we are adding a bill, let's see if our workflow is working. Bill date is today, vendor is Parveen, add new, serial number is 1, the product is a pen, the quantity is, let's say, 4, unit price is. So here we have an error. The error is in executing on user input script of the field item details. It says that null value occurred while performing multiplication operation in line 4. Okay, so this is one of the very silly problems that I always encounter while doing this deluge scripting, and I'll tell you, it's not a problem with the code. It's simply a matter of where we have put our code into. So just see here, the quantity comes here and the unit price comes here. So let's say I put quantity 7 and unit price 8. So the workflow should run on user input of unit price rather than on quantity. Let's see what we have done. I have put my workflow in item details of when I'm putting quantity, and I should have put it in unit price. So this is where I went wrong. So all I have to do is simply, I will copy paste this, delete this workflow, put a new action, this time on user input of unit price and not the quantity. I'll simply copy paste this, hit save, and let's see if our app is running right now. Sapam. So this time it's working. I have a quantity of 5 and the unit price is 2, so I have a subtotal of 10. Now this time when I'm inputting some percent or shipping charge, I want that the net total should change. For this, I will have to create another workflow. So let's go to total, add a new action on user input of the tax percent. I want that the input net total should change to hit save. Sorry, I have to give a semicolon in the end and hit done. Let's refresh the app and add a new form once again. The tax percent is 23% and my net total has changed. So you can do the same on input of shipping charge. You can simply add the shipping charge to this input dot net total that we have found now. And then I select account as HDFC bank deposit account, payment status is paid. Let's put my serial number, my bill date as today, The vendor is Parveen, and I hit add. In my ad bills, I have this bill here, and this one I'll have to add to my accounts the way I did in the second step workflow. Now we will move on to our fourth step, where we will create our sales bills and the workflows of that. Now that we have done a lot of forms and reports, in the fourth step we are going to learn how to create workflows in Creator. Now in the fourth step we will be creating our sales form and the associated workflows for that. So we'll go and edit our application again. I'll call this as add sales. So in my sales form, I want my invoice date. I want to know my customer, so I'll use a lookup to my contact, and then I'll filter it out to just show me those who are our customers. So if you have a customer and you want to add a sales to them, then you can just add the contacts first and mark them as customers, so they will appear in the sales form. Rename this as customer. I don't want their prefix or suffix, I just want their first name and last name. So this is our customer. Then I will use which account I want the sales to go into. So we will use the add account form, look up the account name, done. Rename this as sales account, and here I'll use a filter that the type of account should equal receivables, or the type of account should equal my payables and receivables. This will ensure that my payables and receivables, so that receivables are there and not just payable. So this will give me the sales account in which this money should be recorded. And then, like the previous purchase form, I'll create a subform. In subform, I'll add fields for my product, for which I'm giving the sales. Then I can use the number for the serial number, which I should have put in the first. Now I can rearrange it by just pushing it up. Then the unit price, so a currency field for that. Then I'll use the number field for the quantity. And then finally the subtotal, so another currency field for that. Now this is my subform. Next up I will have the total. I can rename this subform as item list. Then I'll have my tax percent, shipping charges, and then another currency field for the net total. The percent I'll move here. I don't need this redundant sections. Let's rename this. Now in this tax percent, you can actually have an initial value put in. So let's say you have a tax percent of 18, so even you can put it here, and you have a fixed shipping charge of, let's say, $50. So you can right away have your values here. I started with INR, so I'll change all of these to INR so that there's no mismatch in my calculations later on. And so our sales form is ready. Now I'll go to my app and I'll refresh it. There's purchase details here, and this is our new sales form. So we have purchase details and this is sales. Let me add my customer. There's no customer because in my contacts I have not added any customer yet. There's only one vendor. So first step, I'll add my contact. This is a customer. This is my brother, so he is my customer. Next I'll go to sales, so I'll choose Manna as my customer. The sales account I don't have, so I have to go and add a sales account also. Right now I have only payables. So because I have filtered out payables and I only have receivables for my sales form, I need to add another account. So this one I'll name as, type of account is receivables, account balance started with 0, account status is active. So in now all accounts I have SBI as receivables. When I go to my add sales, there I'll put the say invoice date, customer is Manna. There is a sales account now, that's the SBI bank. Add new, I'll put the serial number, some product, unit price, quantity, and now I have to calculate subtotal just like we did for our purchase form. So just notice that the tax percent is already put here as 18 and shipping charge as 50 because I already predefined these values. They can change it if there is some other kind of percentage, but by default I want it to be 18. So this is just another way of how you can customize fields according to your needs. Let's go and make the workflows. Now you can copy paste the workflow that we have created for our add bill on item details of unit price. So just copy paste this, create a new workflow, this time on user input of quantity. So while using the form, add sales, name the workflow, add a new action on user input of the last one, that is quantity. Then copy paste this, hit save. Error at line number 6. This is because I have named my sub form not as item form but as item list. So just change for all the fields if you have changed any from the purchase form to the sales form. Now I'll hit save. Now I'll go and refresh my app. This time when I put a product, the subtotal is calculated as 72. Now what happens when my tax percent is already predefined at 18 and shipping charge is 50? So you're not letting me add the tax percent, shipping charge is already predefined. So unlike in my purchase form here, if you remember, I put another workflow on user input of tax percent and then in shipping charge. Here we can use a formula field instead. Let's see how to do that. For this, let's go to design, check our add sales form, open it, and here the net total is a currency field. There's something called the formula field here, so just push it, and here you can calculate the expression. What I want is that into the tax percent divided by 100 plus my total again plus the shipping charge. So this will become my net total. Now I'll make this field visible in the form so that it comes in the form, and then refresh my app. So as you can see, the net total appears here now. Let's see what happens. The subtotal is calculated and when the net total is calculated, now this is calculated just according to our formula. Let's fill the other details and hit add. Now in the next workflow, this is the last workflow of all, and this is that now that the sales is there calculated as 368, I want this to be added to my accounts, to my payables account or my receivable account, according to whether it's a sales form or a purchase form. For this, let's go and create the last workflows. While creating, it's not a form, so I want a workflow. While using the form, add sales. This is like the very first workflow that we created when we were adding our income and our expenses. So on successful form submission, we will use our fetch. This is my variable. It will go to my add account form. It will look for the IDs which match my sales account. Once it knows that, it will simply change the account balance by adding, because this is the sales, remember. In purchases we'll subtract. Input dot net total. Now I'll do the same thing for my add bill also. So this time I can simply go there, add a new action. It does not matter whether you create a new workflow or just add onto the workflows that you've already created. Unsuccessful form submission. Input dot select account. This time subtract the net total from the account. Here I have a mistake. It should not be account status, it should be account balance. Account balance, yes. Does not exist in add account. Sorry. ID should always be caps or you will have errors in the code. So I'm done with all my workflows, and now we'll move on to the fifth step, that is creating dashboards. In the fifth step, we are going to learn how to create pages in Creator. Through this page, we are going to build a dashboard in which we will have a lot of finance metrics. In the fifth step, we'll be creating dashboards. Dashboards we will create through what we call as page in Creator. We can either choose from one of these templates. So you can see that these look like dashboards, but I'm going to teach you how to do one right from scratch. So page from blank, I'll name it as finance dashboard. So when the admin goes to this dashboard, at a glance they know how much they have in receivables, payables, and what is the current balance. So these are what you can have in pages. You can have these panels, you can use one of these charts, or you can embed forms, reports, snippets. For those of you who know how to code in HTML and ZML, and these are the buttons. We'll start with panels. First up, I'll use this panel. I can call this as total receivables. Now here I want to show this sum in my sales form. I'll use net total for all the records. So this is my total receivables, and then I can choose an action. So when I click on this, we can open the report of our all sales. So we have our total receivables here. Next, I can use the same one for my payables. So for payables, I'll be using the sum for my add bill form. Action, open the report of all bills. So we have our total receivables, total payables, and then I would want to know our cash balance. For cash balance, we can use, I'm going to use this for my cash balance. Now in cash balance, I want to have the sum of my account form for the field account balance. Now we can select the records that we want the account status to equal active. So only for the active accounts we can show the cash balance. In action, I want to open up the report to my accounts. So we have three panels here. Next up, I'll show how to create a chart. So we have different kinds of charts here: column charts, stack charts, bar charts. We'll use the first one. We can create this for our add account form. So in the x-axis, I can have the type of account that we have, and the y-axis, I can have the aggregate values of my account balance. This balance. Hit done. Now next up, we can have our incoming balance and our outgoing balance. So I'll use another panel. Just incoming, and here I will use the sum of my incomes, the income amount. Either you can have for all records, or you can even choose which particular account you want to check for. We can even check for the time. So I can have that the date should equal this month. So now I can rename this as incoming account this month. Now this is completely customizable. I can customize this icon here with something that denotes currency. I can check the color here. In action type, I want to open the report to my incomes. This is my incoming amount. Then I want to have another one for my outgoing amount. Right here, I'll have the sum to all of my expenses. In action, I want to open my expense reports. And then I'll change the entire color to light orange shade. Now this cash balance, maybe I want to change the color of it. I'll change the color to slight red green. You can change the layout of your entire dashboard by just dragging and dropping this. Then you can embed the reports or the forms. For now, I'm done with my dashboard, and we will see how it looks like by refreshing our app. This is our financial dashboard, and this is how our dashboard looks like. So for the cash balance, I have 0 this year. Total receivables is 369. Total payables is this much. This is my chart where I have the balance for my payables and my receivables. Receivables is 0 this month, the incoming amount this month, and the outgoing amount. So you can create the dashboard. You can customize the font, the color, the charts as you need, so that if you are the admin, you see all the metrics that you need right away at the first glance of your dashboard. Now let's get ahead with our demo. We are done with building the app. Let's have a quick demo to recapitulate all that we have learned today. Let's quickly reiterate whatever we have learned today by a quick demo of this app. First up, you go to our account tab where you add your accounts. Let's get started by creating a new account. Just name it as fake deposit account. Type of account is payables and receivables. It started off with $100. It's active. Add. So in all accounts, you have a fake deposit account, which is both payables and receivables. It is active and you have $100, 100 rupees. Then you have your incomes. So if you are earning your incomes, you can select your fake deposit account, put 20. Income source is date is here, and add. So in all income, you have your fund from venture capital. Then you have your expenses. So you can add you can always reshuffle your tabs any way you want. You can even go and customize them. Just go to the customization tab here, and you can push your contacts right before the income. Alternatively, you can also change how everything looks with this theme here. So if you just put it in this theme, let's see how it looks like. I'll refresh the app and it looks like this now. So I have my accounts here, I have my contacts and my income. I was adding expense right now. So in expense, I can only have expense from my HDFC because that is my receivable. So sorry, that's my payable, and I have this vendor. I'll put $20. Expense records. My employee salary. So in my all expenses, I have my employee salary stated here. I'm done with accounts. I'm done with income and expenses. In contacts, I can add new contacts. Let's say I add a new employee. And in all the contacts, I have my employee PC, there's a customer, and there's a vendor. Next up, I'll have my purchase details and my sales for my products. So if I have purchased some raw material from one of my vendors, I'll use this. This is the subtotal which has been added here. Next product is granola. This is my subtotal. I'll add my tax percent, shipping charge, and I'll select my account into fake deposit account. The payment status is paid. I'll hit add. When I go to my all bills, my recent bill is right here. This 1060 bill. If I want to see details, I can just click on this. Next up, I will have my sales.
So I'll add my sales when I'm selling some product of mine. The customer is Manna. Sales account is fake deposit account. Item list is. My net total has been calculated. I'll just hit add. And now when I go to my all accounts, you see that after everything, my fake deposit account has minus 135. That is, I have to pay back 135. This is my financial dashboard. My cash balance is in the negative. This is my total receivables. This is my total payables. Payables has this much amount now. This is my incoming amount this month, and the outgoing amount is minus 20. So this was a recap of this app. You learned how to create reports, forms, pages, and workflows. Now we'll go to our app deck app and look through it.
This tutorial was to build a very basic finance tracker app. Now we will take you through the app gallery in which our developers have built a very comprehensive business finance tracker app that you can get started with right away just by installing it. So let's do a quick demo of it.
This is our business finance tracker app that I installed from our app gallery. This was created by developers, and that's why you can see how sophisticated it looks. This is the dashboard right away. They have this fiscal year 2018 to 2019, the cash balance, the incoming, the outgoing. This is the cash flow. They have the audit dates. This is the auditing chart. You have the total receivables, the total payables here. They have a donut chart for the current month, the current week, and then they have the quick links here. So if you want to do anything, you can do all of this right from the dashboard. If you want to add income, just click on this button and it will take you to the income form. If you want to add expenses, this one, this is to add your contact, whether your vendors or your customers. This is the cash flow. So all of it is linked right inside the dashboard. They have other tabs apart from the ones that we created. We had income, expense, but they have other reports like income by sales. They have income by projects. They have a separate form for products. We had the sales details. They have also projects. So you have this form where you can add the projects to your app, incoming projects, outgoing projects, and then the bills that are generated in the services. They have separate reports for pending projects, working projects, finished projects. We had the purchase details. This is the contacts. These are the account journals where you have your monthly cash flows. A lot of data inside the monthly cash flow. And then they have separate tab for the taxation. So they have the tax reminder form, pending taxes to pay, paid tax history. And the settings, they have company details, product adjustments, currencies, fiscal year's report. There's a lot of things. This is an all-in-one comprehensive finance tracker app that you can right away install and start customizing according to your business. So if you liked this tutorial, you can install this app and see how you can adjust our tutorial app and create these tabs on your own.
If you liked today's tutorial, then please like it. If you have any comments with the workflows or any doubts, then please comment below the video. Please subscribe to our channel for more such app making videos. Click the bell icon below so that the next time an app tutorial comes up, you are notified about it. Until then, keep making apps and be happy.